Of your books on page number it is 50, so that we can continue with the chapter that is Truly Beautiful Mind. So now Truly Beautiful Mind, as we were reading, the chapter is about the famous scientist that is Albert Einstein, and a very short, you can say short clipping of his, you can say life, it has been presented in the chapter, but through very these short incidents a clear image of the scientist it has been depicted. So that we have learned that he was hardworking, he was not very well intelligent or very well appreciated by anybody when he was at his young age, but later on, he continued his hard work for many years, and finally, in 1915, he has published his first paper on theory of relativity. And he has come out with the famous formula that is E is equal to mc square. But by the time he has got a job in 1902, he married his his university friend Mileva married. But his mother was against this marriage. Why his mother was against this marriage? It is because of two different reasons. The first one was that his mother never wanted another book in the house because Mileva was quite intelligent and she was always indulging herself along with the research work being carried forward by Albert Einstein. And the next important thing was that she is 3 years older than Albert Einstein. So it is just because of this reason his mother was not at all ready to allow Albert Einstein to marry Mileva. But later on, after securing a job in 1902, Albert Einstein he has married Mileva in 1903, and finally they both get married. But this marriage it was not a happy and blissful marriage for us for a long time. There were continuous fights between the couple, as with the passage of time Mileva married, she has lost her intelligent or intellectual ambition, and ultimately she has turned out to be a complete housewife, just taking care of the children only, and she was busy in the household work, and this resulted, or it was resulted into number of fights between both of them, or between the couple, and finally they have divorced. And the following year in 1919, when they have divorced, Albert Einstein he has also married his cousin, that is Elsa. But at that time also there was also a time of rise to the world fame. Albert Einstein he has published his famous theory of relativity, and it was proved right by the solar eclipse, and he has beforehand calculated the amount of deflection to be produced in the light, to be different amount of deflection to be produced in the light of the stars when solar eclipse would take place, and his calculations proved right when the solar eclipse occurred later on. And in 1921 what he was given, he was awarded as, or he was conferred on with Nobel Prize in 1921 for physics, and finally he has rose to the world fame and to the world stage. He was often invited to various kind of functions, celebrations, and number of, you can say, awards and honors came thick and fast to his life. But with this thing, he has always attached himself to that of humanity. He always wanted the betterment of humanity. And for that, what he wanted that these kind of scientific inventions, they should never be used for the destruction of mankind. He knew that with the invention of, or with the discovery of the process of nuclear fission, an atomic bomb is going to be used by Nazis, but he never wanted that. For that, what efforts he has made, this we are going to study today. And for that, first of all, let me share with you the screen. You can see the chapter. Now it is going to be displayed on your screens. So here is the chapter that we are going to read. This is page number 50, okay, which we are going to read. So let us start. Just a moment, please. Yes. So, at the urging of a colleague, Einstein wrote a letter to the American President Franklin D. Roosevelt on 2nd August 1939, in which he warned a single bomb of this type, if exploded in a pot, might well destroy the whole pot together with some of the surrounding territory. So here he has written, because one of his colleagues, he has urged him that if you have power, you can write a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and of course he listened to that advice, and he has written a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt on 2nd August 1939, in which he has mentioned that if this kind of bomb which is being developed, if it is to be used at any port, this will not only destroy that entire port, but it will also affect the surrounding or the adjoining territories. And what kind of destruction it will produce, it is inexplicable. His words did not fail to have an effect. Now see what kind of effect it has. Of course, his words were listened to by the president. The Americans developed, 1 minute please, one student entered. Next, the Americans developed the atomic bomb in a secret project of their own. So what happened? That President Roosevelt, he has not taken any action or to develop understanding between different kind of nations so that this kind of bomb could never be used. But what he has done, he has ordered his scientists to develop a secret atomic bomb, and finally they succeeded in preparing one of that bomb and dropped that bomb on Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. And finally, in order to get rid of that fear that our country will be destroyed, they have thrown before their action a bomb over two cities of Japan, that is Hiroshima and Nagasaki, in 1945. And the effect of that bomb, it is not you can say an understory. Everyone knows it very well that what kind of destruction, death, and long lasting effect this bomb has had produced upon the lives of different kind of people. So this we have learned from the destruction that has been produced there by this kind of bomb. So Einstein was deeply shaken by the extent of the destruction. Naturally, this bomb, when it was used, it has produced a lot amount of destruction, long lasting effects it has produced. This time he wrote a public missive. So what is a public missive? Well, sometimes it is asked in the questions, what is a public missive and to whom Einstein has written a public missive. So what is a public missive? Public missive is a long and official letter which is written for some cause. Okay, which is always written for some cause for the benefit of the people, which is written to the higher authorities. So what has been done? So he has written a public missive to United Nations. So for what you can say work is being undertaken by United Nations, that to keep all the nations united so that there will be not any kind of fight among them. And he thought that earlier he has written a letter to President Roosevelt, but it did not have any kind of effect. Rather, it had a negative effect. So what he thought? He thought to write down a public missive to United Nations so that the unity of the nations can be maintained, so that the right to live can never be violated by any other nation against any other nation. So, unlike the letter of Roosevelt, some students are entering so late. I don't know why. So, but unlike the letter of Roosevelt, this one made no impact. This did not have any effect. But over the next decade, Einstein, he got ever more involved in politics. But after that, he thought that he should involve himself more in politics. Why? Because he thought that he should use his power in order to stop the nations to fight each other. He wanted that this kind of fight should never be lasted in the world, and there should be development of peace. And he got ever more involved in politics, agitating for an end. Agitating means, you can say, disturbed, always in motion, for an end to the arms building, and using his popularity to campaign for peace and democracy. So after that, what he was doing, he was always anxious to put his best efforts to bring an end to building of arms. Why to bring an end to the building of arms? Because he always wanted, what he always wanted, that his popularity, it should always be used for peace and democracy, that there should be prevalence of peace around the world, and there should be just one part, that is democracy, that is people should be aware of their rights and they should use their rights, and their rights should never be violated. He always wanted peace around the world. When Einstein died in 1955, at the age of 76, he was celebrated as a visionary and world citizen as much as a scientific genius. So here the question is how he was celebrated as a visionary. Why he was a visionary? It is just because of the reason that when Nazis had developed an atomic bomb, he has written a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt on 2nd August 1939. So, why he has written a letter? He has written a letter in order to warn the president that what kind of destruction could be produced by the use of this kind of bomb. Not only on the port where it would be used, but how much drastic and destructive effect it will produce on the adjoining territories. Okay, so for that he has written a letter. He has visioned the amount of destruction produced beforehand. He knew that what kind of government and what kind of life people should need. He always visioned peace in the world. So it is just because of this reason he has he always has a vision of better future. He wanted that the future should be a peaceful one, should be in favor, in harmony to all the countrymen, to all the citizens of the world, and not to even single, you can say single citizen or single country. So it is just because of this reason what he always wanted. He was always a celebrated visionary. And moreover, he is a world citizen. Why he is considered to be as a world citizen? So these two words, although but they enclosed very deep meaning, okay, of the nature of Albert Einstein. So what was the nature of Albert Einstein? It is being completely depicted here that Albert Einstein, he was considered as a world citizen. Why he was considered as a world citizen? He was considered as a world citizen. It is because of the reason that he always wanted to safeguard the rights of the entire world. He knew that with the use of atomic bomb, what kind of destruction will be produced. He knew. So for that, he has written a letter to President Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt. He has written a letter. But for that, what he wanted, he never wanted that president should order his scientists or his countrymen or the scientists of his country to develop any atomic bomb in secret. He always wanted that he should take some stern as well as strong steps in order to banish or in order to ban the use of arms and ammunition against any other country. This he wanted. But opposite to that, his words had effect, but in an opposite way. Moreover, after that, when he has come to know with that what kind of destruction it has been produced by this atomic bomb, Then what has happened? He decided to write a public missive, which is a long official letter to United Nations. It means that it has been mentioned in this chapter that two letters he has written. One to President Roosevelt, which had its effect but in a negative way, and the second in order. He had not stopped there, that if it did not have effect. Finally, he had taken the charge to write a letter to United Nations so that peace and harmony should prevail in the world. And of course, and what suggestion he has proposed there to form to the formation of world government, that there should be world government which should safeguard, which should take care of the rights as well as care of the life of all the people on this earth. So naturally, he is a visionary because so many years before he has proposed the formation of world government, and after so many years of his life. So what happened that that now the world has come to this point, to the formation of, you can say, to the concept of globalization. So this is also one concept why he was visionary. So he has written a letter to United Nations to safeguard the rights of all the people of the world, and he has proposed the formation of world government. So whatever he was doing afterwards, he was using his political influence just to develop democracy as well as to develop peace and harmony around the world. So this is the reason why he was always working not for the right of individual citizen or not for the rights of the people of his own country, but what he was doing, he was always putting his efforts, he's always looking forward towards the rights of the ultimately he always wanted to. Vanshika, I don't know what kind of request you are sending to me. So he always wanted to, what he wanted, that he wanted to safeguard the rights of the entire people. So this is the reason why he was considered as a world citizen. So this is the main question to be asked in the exam. What, why Einstein is considered to be as a visionary and world citizen. For that, I have explained it very deeply that why he was considered so. Right? And I hope that with this, the complete chapter of Albert Einstein is clear to you. Right? Now coming up to the discussion of question answers. Let us discuss the question answers. The first question you will do yourself to arrange in an orderly manner in according to the paragraph. This you will do yourself. Now, question number 2, see on the screen. Who had these opinions about Einstein? He was boring. Do it on book. Who is saying that he was boring? His friends. 1 minute. Let me unmute 3 of you in front of me. 1 minute. Don't mute yourself again if I have unmuted you. Yes, speak now. I have unmuted.
He was teammates used to say that he was boring.
Or his friends had this opinion about him. He was stupid and would never succeed in life.
His headmaster.
His headmaster.
He was a freak.
His mother.
His mother. So next question, explain what the reasons for the following are. Einstein leaving the school in Munich for good. Why he was tired of that school?
Einstein left the school for good because he disliked the school's regimentation. He often clashed with the teachers and had arguments with them.
Yes, he often had a clash with the teachers. Moreover, he hated the strict regimentation that was prevalent in the school at that time. Next, Einstein wanting to study in Switzerland rather than in Munich?
It was more liberal as compared to Munich.
It was more
People had
right.
he
Moreover, he wanted to pursue his studies in mathematics and science only. Next, Einstein seeing in Mileva and Ale. Why? Ale means friend.
she was a fellow
Because
classmate.
they both shared same.
This because of disapproval of Philistines. What do these tell you about Einstein? What do these tell you about Einstein?
These tell us about Einstein that he loved freedom. He
Yes.
had his own view of life. He was liberal. He always did the thing the way he wanted to.
Yes, he wanted to be a liberal. He wanted freedom, and he never wanted to bind himself in the shackles, or he never wanted to be bound in limited boundaries. He wanted to be free, and he wanted to pursue his interest in studies, that is of mathematics and science. Next question. What did Einstein call his desk drawer at the patent office, and why? This I have already given you. Question. Yes, who will explain?
Einstein called his desk drawer Bureau of Physics. Uh, he called it so because his research was not proven and he did not want to share it with the world.
Yes, he called his desk drawer at the patent office as Bureau of Theoretical Physics. Why it was called so? It was called so because he was continuing his research on secretly on the theory of relativity. And whatever research he's doing in his free time, whatever he was doing, it has been kept. Where it has been kept? It has been kept in his secret drawer, in the drawer or in the desk drawer, and which is always being kept locked, and no one is allowed to touch those papers. So it is just because of this reason it is called as Secret Bureau of Theoretical Physics. Okay. Next, afterwards, why did Einstein write a letter to Franklin D. Roosevelt? Why he has written a letter?
Einstein was always thought about welfare of humanity. He wrote a letter to the American President Franklin D. Roosevelt because to warn him about the destruction that can be caused by an atomic
He
bomb.
wanted to warn that it was in the air that Nazis had developed an atomic bomb, and he warned President Roosevelt to stop them to use this bomb over the world, because what kind of destruction it has to produce if it's to be used at a port, and it will not affect the port but also the adjoining territories. For this reason, he wanted to stop the use of arms and ammunition against any race. So this is the reason why he has written a letter to Franklin Roosevelt. How did Einstein react to the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki? How he had reacted?
Was deeply shaken. He used
By the extent or by the kind of destruction that has been used by the use of atomic bomb over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So further, in relation to it, what he has done, he has written a letter.
He wrote United Nations to form a world.
Nations. He has written a missive to United Nations, and in which what he has proposed the formation of world government to safeguard the rights of all the citizens of the world, but not only of one nation. Why does world remember Einstein as a world citizen? This I have discussed in very, very detail. Okay, this is very important, and you have to keep it in mind, as he wanted to take care of the rights of all the citizens of the world. He wanted to see complete world as a unit. He's never wanted to limit himself to just one nation or to just one country, and one country should always be should always or would always rule the world. He never wanted that. He wanted to safeguard the rights of all and each and every nation, and it is just because of this reason he was considered to be as world citizen. And after that, after achieving complete success, he always worked what he always worked for the development of, you can say, peace and harmony in the world. So this is the reason why he was always considered as world citizen, right? So I hope
Excuse
that
me,
with
ma'am.
that everything, with the discussion of question answers also, everything is clear to you. One more lecture we will use in discussion of the extra questions of this chapter. Okay, so many extra questions can be there. With these extra questions, you will have deep knowledge of the chapter. So with this, today's lecture is complete, and next onwards we will continue with the discussion further. Now, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. You just raise up your hands.